The last line that we read, grief, fear became the food of mighty love. The more she had grief, Savitri had grief, the more she had fear, her love for Satyavan increased. They became the food, as it were, of her mighty love. Increased by its torment, it filled the whole world. It refers to mighty love. The more it was tormented, it was increased and it filled the whole world. It was all her life, became her whole earth and heaven. Nothing existed for her except her love. Although life born, an infant of the hours, immortal it walked, unslayable as the gods. Whatever the torment, whatever the grief, the love refused to submit. Though it was apparently born of this present life, and it was hardly an infant of the hours, hardly an year having elapsed, immortal it walked, unslayable as the gods. Her spirit stretched measureless, in strength divine, an anvil for the blows of fate and time. Her spirit would not break. On the other hand, it stretched endlessly. The more it was stretched, the more it elongated itself and increased in strength, and it became the anvil for the blows of fate and time. She bore them heroically. Oh, tired of sorrow's passionate luxury, grief's self became calm. The scene shifts to the grief. Grief is imaged as the idol. The first canto or second or the first book, the grief was pictured as a god waiting the oblation of tears. Here, sorrow itself was so abundant that it became a passionate luxury of grief. A stage arrived when the sorrow became so much that grief became tired and became calm. A stage arrives when pain, suffering becomes so insufferable that one gives up the struggle, and there is a strange calm. Maybe a calm of fatality, a calm of resignation, but a calm nevertheless. Dull-eyed, grief becomes dull-eyed, resolute. It is keen, awaiting some issue of its fiery struggle, some deed in which it might forever cease, some great deed in which grief hoped to cease forever. Victorious over itself, and death and tears. Grief is hoping that some deed, some action will take place, as a result of which it will be victorious over itself, victorious over death and tears. The year now paused upon the brink of change. Savitri has arrived somewhere in summer. Rain started, a full cycle, and now the next rainy season is ending. No more the storm sailed with stupendous wings, and thunder strode in wrath across the world. No more did thunder strike, and still was heard a muttering in the sky, a low muttering of raindrops is still heard, and rain dripped wearily through the mournful air. It is all mournful, there is nothing bright. Thunder has stopped, storms have stopped, low muttering is going on, raindrops are falling slowly, and grey, slow, drifting clouds shut in the earth. The earth is enveloped by grey, colourless, slowly moving clouds from the light above. Just as the earth is shut in by the slow drifting clouds, so her grief's heavy sky shut in her heart. Savitri's heart is enclosed, shut in by the heavy sky of her grief. A still self hid behind, but gave no light. There is behind the heart, there is the still self. It is hidden, it is covered by grief. The self does not and cannot reach its illumining rays, vibrations, when there is grief outside. There can't be peace as long as there is grief. That is why mother would always insist that in the case of those who have departed, their relatives should not grieve. Not that you can help sorrowing, but grief, it shuts out the vibrations of peace. And she would explain that those who leave the physical body voluntarily or forced to do so by accidents and the like, they invariably rush into the physical atmosphere of those whom they loved and those who love them, because their love acts as a cushion, acts as a gentle protection. But at that time, if the people here grieve, weep, they feel disturbed. So many times, mother would tell to the relations of people who died, I have put so and so in your atmosphere, you be calm. And the moment she said be calm, people always received the strength to be calm. Her words carried the force of calm. So here, a still self hid behind, but gave no light. No voice came down from the forgotten heights. Savitri has evidently forgotten her natural height. Pulled down as she is by this grief, only in the privacy of its brooding pain, her human heart spoke to the body's fate. Human heart, not her innate spiritual heart. It speaks to the body's fate, not to the fate of the soul. Next canto, a very more important one. Such being, this is the background. She is overcome by grief. She is unable to receive any communications from the self inside. And as the raindrops still fall, she is sitting at night. Satyavan is asleep, but she won't get sleep. So she is sitting at the head of the bed, brooding, lost in grief. At that time, as in the vigilance of the sleepless night, through the slow, heavy-footed, silent hours, when there is sorrow, when there is grief, time hangs heavy. It looks as if time doesn't move. Time feels unmoving. Heavy-footed, silent hours. As she is sitting, repressing in her bosom its load of grief, she sat staring at the dumb dread of time and the approach of ever nearing fate. She is face to face with the dumb dread of time, and the doom is approaching. At that moment, at that hour of crisis, a summons from her being's summit came, the summit which she has forgotten. From there comes a call, a sound, a call that broke the seals of night, seals of darkness, seals of night, unconsciousness. This call, this word, broke the seals. Above her brows, where will and knowledge meet, a mighty voice invaded mortal space. Above her brows, here in the Ajna Chakra, where will and knowledge join. It is the center where the subtle vision opens and where one's inner will and inner knowledge have a junction here. At that place, a mighty voice invaded mortal space. It was not a human voice. It was a supernormal voice which invades mortal space. It seemed to come from inaccessible heights, and yet was intimate with all the world. Though it seemed to come from heights that were inaccessible, yet there was an intimacy of the voice with the world, and knew the meaning of the steps of time, that voice, and saw eternal destiny's chainless scene, filling the far prospect of the cosmic gaze. That is, this voice, which is invading from there, is fully conversant with all that is taking place in this world. It knows the meaning of each step in time because it is from above. And so, destiny has been fixed. So the destiny seen is changeless. And that changeless destiny fills the far prospect of the cosmic gaze. A vision, a gaze which looks at the whole cosmos. There at the end is that willed destiny that is fixed. Here is a hint that the fixation, that the determination is only at the end. Between here and there is a lot of scope, lot of room for modification, for speeding up, for slowing down. So man has a sense of freedom, though his ultimate destiny is fixed. That is one of the important concepts of Sri Aurobindo, that things are fixed in their ultimate sense. But within that circle, there is a large amount of freedom. So here this voice knew the meaning of the steps of time and saw eternal destiny's changeless scene, filling the far prospect, not the immediate prospect, of the cosmic gaze. Now as the voice touched, her body became a stark and rigid, golden statue of motionless trance. Her grieving body, her body which has been tense so far, it became a rigid and stark, sheer, not clothed, golden statue, like a statue of gold, of motionless trance, lost in itself, without any movement. A stone of God, lit by an amethyst soul. Amethyst is one of the precious stones, bluish, purple, which Mother remarked that it is noted for its quality of storing spiritual power. So here, a stone of God lit by an amethyst soul. Savitri looks as if she is a stone of God. But not a stone, it is lit by an amethyst soul. Around her body's stillness, all grew still. Not only her body grows still, but all around there is a stamp of stillness. Her heart listened to its measured beats. Her heart listened to its own beats. Now things are so calm that the beats are measured. They are no longer erratic, no longer fast. Her mind renouncing thought heard and was mute. Her heart listened to its measured beats. Her mind renounces thought, no thought activity. And in that silence, it hears and falls mute. Indispensable condition for hearing the voice of God. Heart to be indrawn, the mind to be free from thought, attuned to the voice and silent, mute. And the voice that has come, it asks Savitri, why camest thou to this dumb, death-bound earth, this ignorant life beneath indifferent skies, tried like a sacrifice on the altar of time. O Spirit, O immortal energy, if it was to nurse grief in a helpless heart, or with heart tearless eyes await thy doom. She reminds her, you are a spirit, you are an immortal energy, you don't belong to this earth. Why did you have to come to this dumb, death-bound, mortal earth? To this ignorant life beneath the indifferent skies. The skies are indifferent, whatever happens, whether you prosper or perish, whether you have joy or pain, skies are utterly indifferent. Tied like a sacrifice on the altar of time. If time is the altar, the platform, on that, you are the oblation, you are like a sacrifice. Why did you have to do this? If it was to nurse grief in a helpless heart like any ordinary creature, thou art nursing grief. Instead of having courage and facing things, you are nursing grief in a helpless heart, or with hard, tearless eyes await thy doom. You are doing nothing. You are just resigned and waiting for the doom with tearless eyes, because the eyes have exhausted their tears. A stage arrives when all the tears are dry up. The grief is all the more intense. Why? Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. The voice reminds her the purpose for which she has come. Why has she forgotten? She is asking. O soul, arise. Arise from thy grief, from thy resigned state, and vanquish time and death. When the voice stops there, Savitri's heart replied in the dim night. Not her mouth. The heart replies in its own language. But Savitri's heart replied in the dim night, my strength is taken from me and given to death. She explains herself. I have no strength left because all my strength has been taken away and given to death. Why should I lift my hands to the shut heavens? Heavens have closed on me, heavens have shut. They don't regard me. Why? Why should I lift my hands in the supplication? Or struggle with mute, inevitable fate? Fate is inevitable. Fate is not arguable. Why should I struggle with it? Or hope in vain to uplift an ignorant race? She points at humanity. She knows that if she struggles, and she does, it will have the effect of uplifting that human race. But she says, why hope in vain to uplift an ignorant race who hug their lot and mock the Saviour light? Does this ignorant race of man deserve? They are hugging, embracing, sticking to their lot, and they mock at the Saviour light. The light of God that has come to save them, they make fun of it, they make mockery of it. And why should I strive? Who mock the Saviour light and see in mind wisdom soul tabernacle? They see the whole source of wisdom in mind, not above mind. In its harsh peak and its inconscient base, a rock of safety and an anchor of sleep, this race, human race, in its ignorance, feels its rock of safety in the inconscient base. It sticks to the inconscience, and that inconscient base is harsh. In its heights, it is like a harsh peak. And an anchor of sleep in the inconscient, they hope to get firm sleep, hold to it, and go to sleep. Is there a God and leaves the mortal strength impotent against his calm, omnipotent law? He lets his omnipotent law govern everything. He sits unconcerned and leaves the mortal to fight with his strength, impotent as he is, against that omnipotent law, which is calm in its omnipotence, and in conscience and the almighty hands of death. That is, man is left impotent against this omnipotent law, against the pull of inconscience, and against the devouring almighty hands of death. God is sitting in peace. He doesn't help man. What need have I? What need has Satyavan to avoid the black meshed net, the dismal door of death that is opening, the black meshed net full of these wires? Why should we avoid? Why should we seek to escape from it? He says, what need have I? What need has Satyavan to avoid the black meshed net, the dismal door? Or call a mightier light into life's closed room? The room of life, little as it is closed by death. Now why should I call a mightier light, a greater law into man's little world? Why should I strive with earth's unyielding laws? Why should I fight unyielding laws that govern the earth, or stave off death's inevitable hour? Death's hour is inevitable. I may be able to postpone it, but why? This surely is best. In her frame of mind, at that moment, she feels this surely is best to practice with my fate. Now, this word practice has been a word of controversy. Many of us read it in the manuscript as practice. But someone with quite some ingenuity, he explains, practice is to make a pact. Perhaps it is pronounced pactize. Pactize with my fate. Enter into a pact with my fate. It is a peculiar construction. This surely is best to pactize with my fate. It is to compromise with my fate and follow close behind my lover's steps and pass through the night and pass through night from twilight to the sun. That is, pass through death, and the sun is on the other world. Across the tenebrous river that divides, Vaitarini river, the river that divides the adjoining parishes of earth and heaven. To Sri Aurobindo's vision, earth and heaven look like adjoining territories, small territories, parishes. Then could we lie inarmed breast upon breast if I don't resist, if we simply pass through this night and wake up there to the sun across the tenebrous river? Then could we lie inarmed, arm in arm, breast upon breast, untroubled by thought, untroubled by our hearts, forgetting man and life and time and its hours, forgetting eternity's call, forgetting God. As she talks, it dawns upon her that what she proposes to do will result in forgetting eternity's call, forgetting God. When she asks that, the voice from above replies, "Is this enough, O spirit?" The voice is mocking at Savitri. "And what shall thy soul say when it wakes and knows the work was left undone for which it came? Surely thy soul is going to wake up one day, and it will know that the work for which it went down is left undone. Or is this all for thy being born on earth, charged with the mandate from eternity?" You have been charged with a mission. You have been given an order from the eternal. Is this all for thy being born on earth, charged with the mandate from eternity, a listener to the voices of the years? You are not born today. You are an ancient one. You have been listening to the voices of the years, a follower of the footprints of the gods, to pass and live and change the old dusty laws. Will your soul be satisfied to be just live the scene of earth and live and change the old dusty laws, to change which thou hast come? Shall there be no new tables, no new word, no greater light come down upon the earth, delivering her from her unconsciousness, man's spirit from unalterable fate? She drives home the point. Is it not for these things that thou hast come? To establish new tables, to open a new world, to bring down a greater light, to deliver earth from unconscious spell, and to deliver the spirit of man from fate which is considered to be unalterable? Camest thou not down to open the doors of fate? Did you not come down to open the doors of fate? The iron doors that seemed forever closed, and lead man to truth's wide and golden road. Did you not come for this purpose? To lead man to truth's wide and golden road that runs through the finite things to eternity. Man's road runs through the finite, through the many, to eternity. Through time, through the eternal, through space to the infinite. Is this then the report that I must make? My head bowed with shame before the eternal seat. It is the higher being of Savitri which puts the question to the human part. It says, is this then the report that I must make? My head bowed with shame before the eternal seat, before the seat of God, that His power He kindled in thy body has failed. Do I have to report to God, the monarch, that the power which He kindled in thee has failed, and His laborer returns? Laborer, she stinks up, saying that thou art the laborer of God. His laborer returns, her task undone. After she says that, Savitri's heart fell mute. It spoke no word, but holding back her troubled rebel heart. It is the rebel heart that has been speaking till now, but now she holds it back, abrupt, erect and strong, calm like a hill, surmounting the seas of mortal ignorance, its peak immutable above mind's air. A power within her answered the still voice. That power within her has now awake. It rises above the seas of ignorance and rises above the mind's air, and it tells that still voice from above, I am thy portion here, charged with thy work. As thou myself seated forever above, speak to my depths. O great and deathless voice, command, for I am here to do thy will. The human self places itself at the disposal of the higher, diviner self and says, order, command, for I am here to do thy will. I think we should stop, it is late.